rise to contribute briefly to this debate and wish to endorse and offer my support for the contribution of my Greens colleague, the member for Ballina, who understands all too well the realities of what it means for people in regional communities to be ignored by the National Party, and what it means for those communities to be finally listened to by a strong member in her community that actually understands the complexities and the needs of their community, but also recognises that it is people across this state that care about the need to protect koalas in this state. Ever since the last known living Tasmanian tiger died in a zoo in 1936, we have looked back on this moment as a tragedy. This beautiful and iconic species was declared extinct 59 days after it was granted official protection. But it is not enough for us to feel sad about a tragedy that happened several generations ago. Our responsibility is to prevent that same fate from happening under our watch, in this place, right now, to one of our most famous and most loved animals, the koala. Koalas in New South Wales will likely be extinct within 30 years unless we act to protect them. Before the catastrophic 1920 bushfires, koalas were in trouble. Land clearing and loss of habitat meant that populations have been in serious decline for many, many years. It is estimated that nearly all of the koalas in firegrounds perished, an estimate of around 5,000. Without major intervention, the koala will almost certainly become extinct. After these devastating fires, we must preserve every remaining bit of koala habitat in our state. The government should incentivise farmers so that they are paid more to protect trees on their land instead of clearing them, and overhaul the failed biodiversity offsetting scheme which allow core koala habitat to be cleared. We welcome the government's announcement of a great new Koala National Park on the beautiful mid-north coast of New South Wales. Much of the area has been untouched by this season's fires and has a large and healthy and growing koala population, but remains under threat from logging. It has never been more important to protect its area. However, this announcement has been undermined by the Forestry Corporation continuing to log koala habitat in the mid-north coast. It is not just Australians and people in New South Wales that love koalas. The entire world is urging us to act to save them. They are in our children's books, in our tourism brochures, and part of our collective story. We know the excitement and enthusiasm that young people, including my daughter who visited recently, the ability to be able to visit recently and see up close a koala and ask with such excitement and enthusiasm about what they eat and how they interact. Protecting koalas means protecting our forests and our natural habitats, not just for koalas, but for all threatened species. And these have been hammered by the atrocious fires that we have seen. It is fantastic when we see the state and federal governments say that they'll do whatever it takes to protect our koala habitats and koala species. But it is clear that governments lack the courage, the political will, and the long-sighted future focus that means that they turn these words into action. The Greens absolutely do not support this bill. As my Greens colleague in the other place who chaired the inquiry into koalas, Kate Fairman, said, this bill is a massive step back. As the member for Ballina explained, the fact that we are seeing this bill and the reason for this bill coming as a negotiation between coalition parties that were at war, as opposed to seeing what is following the science and the expertise around preventing koala extinction, is outrageous. Not just a step backwards, as Kate Fairman says, but completely unacceptable in terms of how we are making good laws to protect our natural species and our habitats that support them. The policy settings that underpin this bill are inconsistent with recommendations made by the New South Wales Audit Office, the Natural Resources Commission and the New South Wales Upper House Inquiry, and also the original recommendations of the Independent Biodiversity Review Panel. The bill preempts the outcomes of the government's reviews currently in process. It is also important to acknowledge and recognise that in the chamber right now, and the people speaking on this bill are from the National Party.
From the bush.
I have not seen a member of the Liberal Party cabinet come down here in support of this bill and put their views of this bill on the record. I have not seen the Premier down here. I have not seen the Planning Minister down here. I have not seen any of the Liberal members in this place down here speaking on this bill. It is important to note that there is clearly not agreement.
That's all that counts.
When it comes, it is clearly not agreement when it comes to how this bill has been put forward. This bill is not in the interests of koalas. It's not in the interests of the community. It's in the interests of holding together the very, very tenuously held together at the moment interaction between the Liberals and the Nationals in the New South Wales coalition government. Because if it was actually a good bill that this government absolutely supported, then we would have Liberals. We would have Liberals in here speaking on it. We haven't had a single Liberal member speak on it. And
I asked the member for Newtown to come back to the bill if that's okay.
This is the bill, because in the second
I'm sure one of my colleagues here would raise a point of order on relevance.
In the second reading speech, the Minister, Speaker, in the second reading speech,
I thought I'd do it for you.
You actually have to have your members in the chamber to...
Order, member for Maitland. I'll start booting people out. If the member for Newtown...
Speech, my understanding is that the Minister...
Order. If the member for Newtown can come back to the bill, that would be great. Thank you.
I will come back to the bill, Speaker, because in the second reading speech that the Minister referred to when introducing this bill, he referred to this being a negotiation between the Nationals and the Liberals. And so I thought the purpose of this bill was actually to demonstrate that there could be a negotiation between the Nationals and the Liberals, because that was discussed as part of the purpose of the bill. So I want to end by saying that there is incredible work done from environmentalists, from ecologists, from people that are standing up for animal welfare and animal rights, for the incredible work done by the Environmental Defender's Office when it comes to raising serious concerns about this bill and this process. And I want to do a shout out to all of them, because these are difficult times when we see that actually what we see from this government to hold on to their own power are prioritising their own power and their own internal relationships over the protection of our precious koala species. And I just want to end on this, because I know it's going to come, right? I can hear it from the other side of the chamber. Oh, well, you wouldn't know, you're from Newtown, you don't have any koalas in Newtown. You know, well, guess what? We're actually in here, in this place. We are in here to act in the interest of the
members,
entire
I want to hear the
community
member
of New
for
South Wales.
Newtown in silence.
And the idea that I don't say, no, you don't live in the city, so you can't come to our restaurants and bars. Oh, you can't have an opinion on our roads. You can't have an opinion on our buses. Don't come near our airport. We don't say that, because actually we are here to represent the community as a whole. And so next time you want to fly somewhere, next time you want to drive down King Street, next time you want to go to a bar in the city, you don't deserve that, because this is what is missing about this whole debate and discussion.
I asked the member for Newtown to come back to the bill.
We are here
I asked the member for Balmain
to represent our communities in the interests of the whole state. And it is very, very clear that the National Party have lost their way when it comes to being part of a government that is supposed to govern for the whole state. Their self-interest and their desire to only maintain their own political power, their own trappings of being part of a coalition in government, is what we are seeing here. And it is a disgrace, and it needs to be called out. Because when we're talking about the extinction of koalas, not just the people in the bush care about it, the people in the inner city care about it, the people in China, in Japan, in Hong Kong, in Europe, across the globe care about it if the koalas become extinct. And in this place right now, we are passing a bill that will mean that extinction in 2050 is a harsh reality, because of the fact that we have failed, because we are seeing a situation where the Nationals are more interested in holding on to their ministerial portfolios, in holding on to their cars, in holding on to the trappings of office, than they are in protecting the most valuable species in our society, in our community, which is the koala.